Right, when we're working the collar, we're obviously we've finished up our yarn on a knit side, so we're going to be purling to begin with. Whoops. And we're going to be purling, decreasing on our purl row. And I just wanted to have a little word with you about that, because we did a load of wrapping and turning of stitches on our last row. Normally when you do that, you're going to have to pick up the wraps as you go along, and I don't know if you listen to my excitement about this, but we don't have to do that this time, which is lovely, because the design of this, the thickness of the yarn, the collar which folds over, I spoke to Chloe about it and she just said, no, you just don't need to worry with it. You can just straight up purl, which is fantastic, I think. So what I'm going to do, obviously the numbers are completely out on this because mine is about a quarter of the size of what you will be working on, but you're going to be reducing your stitches down from 152 down to 115. So what's that, 37? 37 stitches, is it? Yeah, 37 stitch reduction there. So just a little reminder of purling 2 together, and then you can happily go through that particular decrease row. So I've purled 1, I'm going to purl 2 and then purl 2 together, and all I'm doing with the purl 2 together is putting my needle into the next stitch along as if to purl, and the one after that, and purling 2 together. And you're just going to do that all the way along. So I'm going to do that, and then I want to have a little chat with you about how much yarn you've got left. So I'll just do a bit more decreasing and we'll have a talk about that. Right, I've worked my purl decrease row, and I'm now going to start on 1 by 1 rib, which is what we did at the beginning here. And with the cowl collar, we're working a bigger rib because we're going to fold it back in half. You're having to imagine it because I haven't got that far yet, so I'm going to do that and show you that in a minute when I've worked it. But what is interesting about it is personal to your cowl, because you're going to work it not based on a number of rows, although obviously you can stop when you're happy with the size of it, but you're going to work it based on how much yarn you've got left, because you need to allow 5 meters of yarn at the end to be able to comfortably cast it off. So if I get my large ball of yarn, now I've got loads left here because I've only worked a quarter of what you're going to work on yours, but don't worry, because I'm going to do some weighing and measuring and things and get an appropriate amount from this ball of yarn, so I can sort of see how many rows I can work for my little piece as well. So don't worry about that. But what I wanted to show you is when you do get to the point where you're going to be working until you've got 5 meters left, you can just go into the center of the ball and just pull. I mean, it's not neat. You get a little yarn tangle here, and if you carefully find the end, which I'm probably not going to be able to do in this sort of small space, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the end and I'm going to measure my meterage from the end. And again, obviously I'm going to need a lot less than you, because I'm going to need about a quarter of what you need, because I've made a much smaller piece. But if I was, here's my end, look. If I was working the full-size piece, which I am going to as soon as I finish these videos, because I love it so much, I would find this end, I would measure off my 5 meters and just wind it into a ball and mark it, or just, put an elastic band around that bit or whatever it is, so I know that I can carry on knitting from the other end until I get to that point. So that is how I will take my yarn out from the centre and work, as I said, this lovely 1 by 1 rib collar until I run out of yarn. So I'm going to go and do that and see what I come up with. I had a little look at I haven't seen the finished article, and I had a little look at the photos, and I think there's about 20 odd rows on there. So let's just see what I can end up with. Okay, so after some rudimentary maths, a lot of weighing and head scratching, I have very neatly, as you can see, wound off some yarn, and I'm going to start my my collar. So just a reminder, we are 1 by 1 rib, so that's just knit 1, purl 1 all the way along. So you're starting and ending with a knit on the right side, and you're starting and ending with a purl on the wrong side. So I'll come back to you and we'll see how much I can get out of this delightfully wound ball of leftover yarn. See you in a bit. Right, I've stopped after I've done 22 rows here. And I've still got plenty of my wound off yarn left, and more than enough to do my cast off. But I stopped at 22 because this is going to be my collar. Obviously this is only a small sample piece, but if this was larger, this would be my collar. And when I fold that back, and don't forget I'm going to have another row on there because I'm going to kind of cast off in a minute, so it's going to add a little bit on there. When I look at, you can't really see, but when I look at the collar compared to the starting rib, it's a little bit wider, and I also really just liked the colour that was coming through, so I thought, oh, I'm going to stop it there. But there is enough to keep going if you want to, but I think that is pretty much what's on the sample piece. I think they had sort of, from what I could see from the counting, I think it was around 22, 23, something like that. But I thought that looked rather nice, and I've decided I'm going to stop there. So at the moment, your piece will have a really wide band, and make it as wide or as narrow as you like. You don't even have to double it if you don't want. You could have a single band if you wanted to, however you want it, but there's plenty enough yarn to make it roll back like so. So that's the knitting done. We've just got to cast off now.